And now we turn to another chapter of history and one of our favorite storytellers here at National Geographic, Bob Ballard. As you probably know, Ballard is the explorer who found the Titanic. Now he examines another great maritime mystery, the riddle of the Lusitania, the glamorous ocean liner that sailed into a war zone in May of 1915 and was destroyed. It's perhaps the most controversial sea tragedy of all time. And Ballard is setting out to learn what really happened and why.
I was 16 years old, and I was traveling with my father and my brother had his little boy, 3 years old, and we were traveling to go to Scotland. I was just 12. And we were going up the gangplank, Dad said to me, bend your knees, because I was very tall, and then you look smaller, and you look younger. So I got through half price. All I could see was a great big monster ship. It looked a monster. Well, it was a monster.
Well, I was 4 years old then.
I was ending my 8th year when I boarded the Lusitania. My father had deserted us, and my mother decided that perhaps it would be better if she went back to her parents in England. And that's why she sailed on the Lusitania with 6 children. I don't think she even knew that it was in danger. Did you know that it was filled with contraband? Well, there's been some cover-up about that Lusitania. It was really murder, really.
She left New York on May 1st, 1915, bound for Liverpool, one of the biggest and fastest ocean liners in the world. She carried 1,265 passengers and a crew of 694. But she was also rumored to be carrying something else, something for the British in their war against Germany. On May 7th, she reached the southern coast of Ireland. A little after lunchtime, in sight of land, she was hit by a single torpedo from a German U-boat. Moments later, she was rocked by a second, much larger explosion. Almost immediately, the great ship listed sharply towards the wound in her starboard side and began to sink. Less than 20 minutes later, she disappeared beneath the calm, flat sea. The Lusitania was gone, and 1,195 men, women, and children had gone with her. The sinking of the Lusitania was perhaps the single most controversial act of the First World War. Almost overnight, it cast England in the role of helpless victim and Germany as the ruthless villain. In the United States, outrage at the loss of American life helped propel this country into the war on Britain's side, even though no one really knew what sank the ship. But there have always been whispers that the Lusitania was not as blameless as she appeared. Some historians have speculated that when the Lusitania left New York, she carried a secret cargo of high explosives, and that when the German torpedo struck, those hidden explosives blew up and sank her. one thing is certain. When the Lusitania steamed into history, she left many unanswered questions in her wake. The truth about what actually happened to the Lusitania on that long ago afternoon in May lies just off the southern coast of Ireland. And in the next 2 weeks, ocean explorer Bob Ballard, the man who found the Titanic and the Bismarck, will find something just as remarkable at the bottom of the sea.
The Lusitania is one of those great unsolved mysteries. Well, the mystery is, why did the Lusitania, which was really an auxiliary heavy cruiser, I mean, it was really well built, much better built than the Titanic, had many more compartments. Why did this ship sink so quick? I mean, the Titanic hit an iceberg and was opened up for 300 feet and took hours to sink. Yet the Lusitania was hit with one torpedo and sank in less than 15 minutes. Why?
The seeds of the controversy were planted in the constantly shifting tactics of the First World War. In the spring of 1915, England and Germany were deadlocked on the battlefields in Europe. The British needed supplies, and the only way they could get them was by ship. But a new German weapon, the U-boat, was starting to sink supply ships. The British Admiralty, led by a young Winston Churchill, decided that the most effective countermeasure was to strike first. British merchantmen were instructed to carry concealed weapons and open fire on any U-boat that stopped them. Germany countered with a threat. It declared that any British ship carrying war supplies would be subject to attack, without regard for the safety of passengers or crew. Churchill seemed to foresee the consequences of this new escalation. In a letter written 3 months before the Lusitania was sunk, he stressed the importance of attracting neutral shipping to England. Quote, "In the hope especially of embroiling the United States with Germany. For our part, we want the traffic. The more the better. And if some of it gets into trouble, better still."
Okay, there's the side of the ship.
Next, Ballard's first glimpse of the wreck. How great a toll is more than 70 years on the ocean floor taken on this once luxurious ocean liner. Find out after this on TBS.
State Farm invites you to test your knowledge of the world with National Geographic Atlas. Geothermal energy allows which country on the Arctic Circle to grow tropical plants? Iceland, Norway, Finland. Stay tuned for the answer right after this.
Each year, thousands of people die in house fires. Tragically, many are children. That's why State Farm developed a program called Smoke Detectives. It helps teachers teach fire safety to their students. Kindergartners to 6th graders learn how to recognize fire hazards, develop escape routes, and handle fire emergencies. In just 2 years, nearly 70,000 kits have been donated to schools. And State Farm wants your school to have one, because a child's safety is everyone's concern.
And now the Atlas answer. Iceland lies on the Reykjanes Ridge, part of the undersea volcanic mountain chain called the Mid-Atlantic Ridge, which provides enough geothermal or hot water springs for most of Iceland's residents to heat their homes. The same heat source allows tropical plants to thrive in Iceland's greenhouses.
Join TBS for an incredible look at America's lifelong obsession with the automobile. Driving Passion, a special encore presentation, 10:35 Eastern, Monday, exclusively on TBS.
The legendary Nürburgring. It sounds crazy, but they let anyone drive on this world-famous racetrack for just a few Deutschmarks. It was here that Porsche engineers tested our new 911 Turbo. Lap after lap of the new 400 horsepower engine, the twin turbos, the liquid all-wheel drive. What did we learn? Well, don't send a German engineer here with an ATM card.
Before you move forward, Canon paves the way. Before productivity declines, Canon raises network document processing to a new level. We give you the digital office connection to increase productivity now and beyond. Printing, faxing, copying, scanning, and filing, all through a multifunction system. When the rest say you can't, Canon says you can. The GP55 series from Canon. Now you can. Call 1-800-OK-CANON.
Would we claim the Norelco razor shaves closer than ever, without hundreds of tests to back it up? Say our precision groove helps the Norelco lift and cut system shave closer, without proof? No. We wouldn't say it's our closest shave ever without science, sensors, tests. But of all the tests that prove it's closer, the most convincing requires a personal touch. The Norelco razor, our closest shave ever.
My dad is a soil scientist. Never really figured out what it means. He teaches trees to defend themselves from diseases, and trees are important. They help us live by eating all the carbon monoxide and make air.
Well, I think Dad should get paid more than a baseball player because Dad's job is more important.
And now back to the last voyage of the Lusitania.
The mystery of what happened to the Lusitania is a complex technical puzzle.
This is all one case.
All one case.
And
Everyone agrees that there were two explosions, and that the second was much more powerful than the first.
Okay, this one. So there's 6 boxes altogether.
We know that the first explosion occurred when the torpedo struck. We don't know what caused the second. The documents from the official U.S. inquiry into the tragedy still sit in a New York archive.
She did carry 18 fuse cases and 125 shrapnel cases.
Although Britain initially denied it, today we know that the Lusitania was carrying military supplies.
303 British U-Mark 7, 174 grain bullets. This is what they're admitting to. Winchester repeating arms.
200 cases.
But bullets and shrapnel aren't explosive enough to sink a large ship. Since we know that something blew up, the possibility exists that the Lusitania might also have been carrying a more dangerous cargo, like bombs, or gun cotton, or TNT.
1,248 cases of shrapnel.
If so, it would have been stored here in the forward cargo magazine, which is almost precisely where the torpedo struck. The resulting explosion might have sunk the ship, but it would certainly have destroyed the magazine. In either case, the signs of that massive damage should still be lying at the bottom of the sea, waiting for someone to find them. The Irish Channel, 13 miles south of the lighthouse at Old Kinsale. Bob Ballard's research vessel is anchored directly over the spot where the Lusitania sank. For this investigation, Ballard has assembled the same team and much of the same equipment that helped him find the Titanic and the Bismarck. This time, the location of the sunken ship is known, but not what sank her.
I sort of view what we're doing as investigative reporting. We're going out now with a extremely advanced technology that has never been available before. And we're going down, and something else happened. And what was that something else? Was it because it was carrying war materials, as the Germans claimed, and the torpedo struck a lucky hit and ignited those war materials, vindicating what action the Germans took? Or was it for another set of reasons? And the solution is, where's the hole? How big is it? And what was it caused by?
Ballard is not the first person to explore the Lusitania since she sank, just the first to use such sophisticated technology.
And the torpedo struck a lucky hit and ignited those war materials, vindicating what action the Germans took? Or was it for another set of reasons? And the solution is, where's the hole? How big is it? And what was it caused by?
Ballard is not the first person to explore the Lusitania since she sank, just the first to use such sophisticated technology. In the 1960s, an American diver named John Light claimed to have found evidence that the Lusitania was destroyed when her own cargo exploded, and that the British government tried to cover it up. He was obsessed with the idea, and many people believed him. Light made a series of dives that pushed the primitive technology of that time to the limit. With a narrow beam of light to guide his way, he seldom spent more than a few minutes at a time on the wreck and could only glimpse the enormous hull in fragments. But he did find something, what he described as a huge gaping hole in the Lusitania's bow on the port side, directly opposite from where the torpedo struck.
The way the explosion is, the way the ship is torn up here, indicates a very, very strong internal explosion. I don't think you could possibly say that it was only from a torpedo striking the ship.
The underwater robot called Jason is in the water for the first time. It is about to reveal the Lusitania in a way John Light could only dream of. But shortly before this expedition began, he died at the age of 59. Ballard is hoping to confirm Light's discovery with irrefutable photographic evidence that something in the Lusitania's forward magazine exploded.
Okay, there's the side of the ship. We're going to rise up 10 meters to the...
Today, the Lusitania lies in about 300 feet of water on her starboard side, the side where the torpedo struck.
Vehicle, please. 10? Okay. 10 meters west of Jason. There's the top already, Will. It's not far up. Good job, Willie. Are you popping pictures, team? Okay, there's the beginning of the name. There's the L. It's the U. S. There's the I. T. A. N. I. A. There she is. No doubt about it.
Travelers intending to embark on the Atlantic voyage are reminded that a state of war exists between Germany and Great Britain, and that travelers sailing in the war zone on ships of Great Britain do so at their own risk. The day the Lusitania was set to sail, this notice appears in the New York newspapers. Believing that the Lusitania is too big and too fast to be threatened by a submarine, the Cunard Line makes no attempt to alert passengers of the German warning. 9-year-old Edith Williams was traveling with her mother and 5 brothers and sisters.
No, I don't think she even knew that it was in danger. If she did, she certainly kept it quiet. No, we never knew anything about it. No.
We left New York on the 1st of May, 1915, on the Lusitania. Father, mother, brother, baby, sister, 20 months. And myself,
Each time the Lusitania sails from New York, it is a glittering social event. On this voyage, bystanders might have caught a glimpse of millionaire Alfred Vanderbilt or theater impresario Charles Frohman, who once introduced a play called Peter Pan to American audiences.
I remember the band playing and people waving flags and at the docks, as if it happened yesterday. You know, all this, it's all excitement. You know, this little girl who'd never seen anything like that in her life. And that, it just was great. It was beautiful.
On a dockside swarming with German spies, the Lusitania's cargo holds are loaded with last-minute provisions, including a few hundred cases of bullets and shrapnel shells hidden among barrels of cheese.
I can't believe they'd be carrying arms in a passenger ship, because it was the largest ship then, and it was all wealthy people going back and forwards from Britain to America, you see. They should have been very careful about that sort of thing.
But they were not very careful. As far as the German government is concerned, the Lusitania is a legitimate target of war. But for her passengers, that war is still a week and an ocean away.
National Geographic Explorer will be right back.
It contains some of the most prized photographs in existence. Photographs that have won not only awards, but the admiration of an entire world. It is a collection many consider priceless, but you can bring it into your home for $24 a year. It is National Geographic. We take you behind the scenes to show you the world's greatest wonders, unlock its greatest secrets. Call now to receive 12 monthly issues for $24 and up to 6 bonus reference maps throughout the year. Imagine scaling mountains in Chile, sailing to the Black Sea, and marveling at the dazzling colors of a Peruvian rainforest. For $24 a year, you can become a collector of National Geographic, the most exciting magazine on Earth.
To join, call 1-800-634-7800 now. Charge your membership or send $24 to the National Geographic Society. That's 1-800-634-7800.
TBS has critics all revved up about Driving Passion. They're calling it absorbing, affectionate, literate, and entertaining, compelling, a heck of a lot of fun. Join TBS for an incredible look at America's lifelong love affair with the car. Driving Passion, a special encore presentation, 10:35 Eastern, Monday, exclusively on TBS.
At Chevrolet, we feel everyone, regardless of income, deserves a safe car. That's why we equip the all-new Lumina LS with dual airbags, anti-lock brakes, side guard door beams, child security rear door locks. Sure, anyone can build a car like this. That's easy. We build it so most people can afford it. That's genuine Chevrolet.
known as P53. It suppresses the growth of tumors. In a high percentage of women with breast cancer, this gene is defective. And right now, there's nothing anybody can do about it. But there is hope. It's possible that someday a normal P53 gene could be inserted into the cells of tumors to suppress the growth of cancer. We're working on it. Call today for a free booklet on breast cancer from America's pharmaceutical research companies.
Coming up in the second half of Explorer, undersea explorer Bob Ballard and his team set out to confirm a controversial decades-old theory about the sinking of the Lusitania. Will proof lie at the bottom of the sea? Find out after this on TBS.
We made history on the American road. Now we're looking to the future. Introducing the new Ford Explorer. The top-selling compact sport utility that has standard dual airbags, as well as the roomiest interior, plus the one with the highest quality of any American compact sport utility. The new Ford Explorer, far and away the best the world has to offer.
Look inside today's PCs. You'll find something pretty amazing. The Intel Pentium processor. It gives PC software more life, more action, more energy. So if you want your PC software to really move, make sure your PC has the Intel Pentium processor.
Well, sure, my business is saving with AT&T. At least I think so. I feel that we are. I'm sure that we are. How would I know if we weren't? I don't think we'd know. I don't know if we're saving.
There's no question about savings with MCI's proof positive. Wednesday, it's tough being a reporter. It's tougher being the story. Paul Newman.
What do you write about when the investigation's over and the guy's innocent?
Sally Field, Absence of Malice, 8:05 Eastern, Wednesday. Turn to TBS.
And now we return to Bob Ballard's search for the answers to the riddle of the Lusitania.
It is still the first day of Ballard's survey. He is looking for the large telltale hole that would confirm a massive explosion in the ship's forward magazine. When the ghostly image of the bow appears in Jason's cameras, it seems to be intact.
Seems like I need to come left.
But as Jason moves slowly over the exposed port side, more and more damage becomes apparent. 75 years of winter tides and corrosion have taken their toll.
In one place, it was definitely bowed out, but it looks like someone took a pair of scissors. Yeah, I see all that. Yeah, it's a mess.
We can see the extent to which it's really been flattened and squashed. We can tell that instead of being maybe 80 or 90 feet off the seafloor like we could expect, it's only about 30 feet.
As the survey continues, Jason's cameras detect some smaller holes, but not near the magazine where the explosives would have been stored.
Let's come back to the northwest.
I'm turning.
We go.
Control down, Brad.
At the very bottom of the bow, a large section of the ship is missing, but the damage is well forward of the magazine.
So we were much further forward than we thought. But there was no big hole in this neck of the woods.
No, but there was a lot of damage in this area.
Right.
A lot of pop rivets, shell plating just missing.
But again, it also damage could have been part of the impact. Okay.
It's not what Ballard expected to find. As far as he can tell, the gaping hole reported by John Light simply doesn't exist. Ballard thinks he understands the reason for Light's mistake.
These are divers. This is a technology of, you know, holding your breath almost and running down there and getting narcosized and getting somewhat narcotic. I mean, you lose your, you know, you're a little drifty down there at 300 feet on compressed air. I mean, they were pushing the limits of diving technology. Even using exotic gases, you're under a lot of stress when you're underwater. And you got a little flashlight, and you're looking around with a little flashlight. No, I don't think they knew where they were exactly.
A controversial theory that's been around for decades has suddenly collapsed, and Ballard is no closer to knowing what sank the Lusitania than before. For the moment, at least, Ballard's investigation has reached a dead end.
First and foremost, the magazine did not explode. I'm confident of that. I went right in, thumped up against the hull. I couldn't have had my hand of the vehicle more than feet from where the magazine is and the armament, the munitions. I would be led to believe that whatever they put in the forward cargo hull didn't explode. It's not what I had hoped. It's not pretty, and it makes our investigative reporting that much more difficult. Plus, she's laying on her starboard side. That's the side where the torpedo hit. That's where the answer to the mystery is.
Wednesday, May 5th, 1915. A German submarine commanded by Captain Walter Schwieger surfaces in the waters just south of Fastnet Rock. U-boat 20 left Germany the day before the Lusitania sailed and has made her way around the west coast of Ireland. Like the Lusitania, she's also bound for Liverpool. On the surface, she can make 15 knots, underwater about 9. Only the slowest ships would be unable to outrun her. Her crew takes any chance they can to escape the cold, stinking interior of their ship. 1,000 miles to the west, the Lusitania's passengers are experiencing the Atlantic somewhat differently. She is 785 feet long and 88 feet wide midway between bow and stern. She has 7 decks towering above the waterline and 3 more below. She can maintain a speed of 25 knots, but on this trip, the number 4 boiler room has been shut down to save coal. She is commanded by Captain William Turner, a veteran seaman with 32 years of service with the Cunard Line. Her 4 dining rooms can serve over 10,000 meals a day, and her first-class kitchen rivals the best in Europe. She has a library and a doctor's office, smoking salons, a music room. She even has elevators and a 2-story first-class dining room capped by an elegant dome. A floating palace, someone called her. But for 9-year-old Edith Williams, the Lusitania is a floating playground.
I walked a lot. On board on a ship, I was in a new world. Really, can you imagine being 9 and all this glamorous stuff?
Alice Lynes was 18 years old, a nurse in charge of a 3-month-old baby named Audrey.
It was just a gorgeous ship. It's like traveling in a hotel. You had dances and lovely meals. There was no talk of war at all with anybody.
Only thing I remember fairly clear, every morning
Dad got me up early and we walked all around the Lusitania. It was good and we had a very calm voyage, no sea sickness. One thing I remember about the Lusitania was there I had my first drink of cold refrigerated milk.
Every day was a dream. It was something, how beautiful, because we lived, you know, very poorly. We were poor, hungry. And to find something like this, it was, can you want to explain it, really?
Wednesday, May 5th, evening. In the past 24 hours, the U-20 has sunk one ship, a schooner carrying some bacon, but she needed deck cannon and grenades to do it. The one time she attempted to fire a torpedo on this mission, it got jammed in the tube. Now she will have a second chance. At 8:30 that evening, Captain Schwieger spots a steamer through the fog. The U-20 fires one torpedo at point-blank range. This time, it clears the tube, but doesn't explode. The submarine's activity is reported to the Admiralty office in London, but no one quite knows what countermeasures to take, except watch and wait. 24 hours later, Thursday, May 6th, the Lusitania stands poised to enter British coastal waters and the war zone. The lifeboats have been swung away from the ship in the unlikely event they will be needed. After briefly attending a cocktail party with Charles Frohman and Alfred Vanderbilt, Captain Turner returns to the bridge to find a telegram waiting for him. Submarines active off south coast of Ireland. Minutes later, another message arrives. Avoid headlands, pass harbors at full speed, steer mid-channel course, submarines off fast net. Captain Turner orders the curtains drawn in all staterooms and passes the word that gentlemen wishing to smoke an after-dinner cigar should not do so on deck.
The night before we were torpedoed, the steward came into my room and drew all the curtains. And I said, "What's this all for?" And he said, "Well, that's my orders."
That night after dinner, the Welsh choir gives a concert. A fight erupts among a group of men playing cards in the first-class smoking room. And Edith Williams takes a stroll with her mother.
On the deck one time, she said to me, she did say this, and I remember it, that if we're to be drowned, let us hope that we'll all be drowned or all saved, something to that, probably in prayer, she said it. That's all I remember about my mother.
And below decks, the endless movement of wheelbarrows from the coal bunkers continues until they are empty of nearly everything but dust. A few hundred miles away, Captain Schwieger congratulates his crew for the 2 cargo ships they have sunk that day and plays a record by Wagner on the ship's gramophone. Then he makes a decision that will change history. Instead of continuing on to Liverpool, he will cruise the Irish Channel with his remaining 3 torpedoes.
Next, the U-20 fires on the unsuspecting Lusitania. Find out what happened in the 20 short minutes following the explosion. After this on TBS.
Explorer is being brought to you by Dodge. The more things change, the more they look like the new Dodge.
Over the past 3 years, Dodge has offered a choice of more new nameplates than anybody else. Here are 3 more new choices that make it easier for you to drive the best-selling Dodge Caravan. Like cash savings and values to $23.60 for current owners, or an interest rate as low as 4.9%. Or choose a great Caravan lease rate, the Dodge Buyer's Choice Sale. The choice is all yours. See the friendly Dodge dealer near you.
One sugar-free gum has flavor that really goes the distance. Extra lasts extra long.
The following is a geographic moment.
It wasn't death that was important to the Egyptians, it was life. I have been really thinking about mummification for years, about doing it. The only way to do it is to get a cadaver, a human cadaver, and try to mummify it the way the ancient Egyptians did it.
Wednesday, it's tough being a reporter. It's tougher being the story. Paul Newman.
What do you write about when the investigation's over and the guy's innocent?
Sally Field, Absence of Malice, 8:05 Eastern, Wednesday. Turn to TBS.
In times of trouble, you can count on good neighbors, like State Farm and the American Red Cross. Our jobs are different, but our goals are the same, to help people. That's why State Farm, its agents and employees, are giving to Red Cross disaster relief, so that victims of future disasters will always have someone to lean on. You can help too. Call the Red Cross at 1-800-842-2200.
Glenn likes gliding. See Glenn's Seek stuff on hang gliding. From gliding, he swings to winged things like pigeons and planes and the terrible pterodactyls, Trey Aerodynamical, which sends Glenn to windmills spinning indelibly Dutch and wind blowing much into muddy monsoons, and so to ineffable India, and the sinewy sounds of the sitar wafting through the Himalayas, which happen to be excellent for hang gliding. Maybe. Microsoft Encarta, where do you want to go today?
Stuff. We all want stuff. And when we buy a new car, we want all the stuff. Dual airbags, power steering, power mirrors, air conditioning, a stereo, automatic transmission, a place to put a cup of coffee, convenient stuff. What's really great is that you can get all this stuff on any of these Escorts for the same low price. That's called value. Escort is a great value. Compared stuff to its leading competition, Escort costs less, period. Ford Escort. Good stuff, great price.
And now back to the final voyage of the Lusitania. It's May 1915, and the paths of a German U-boat and a great ocean liner are about to cross.
Although Ballard's investigation is at an impasse, he is not yet prepared to admit failure.
Want the fluorescent light on.
He knows that something must have caused the second explosion that sank the Lusitania. But if her cargo didn't blow up, what did? Ballard decides to have a look for himself in the two-man submarine called Delta. One approach to the wreck is along the line that the Lusitania herself followed as she sank. A trail of coal marks the way. Coal. The Lusitania carried 5,000 tons of it in a series of massive bunkers arranged along both sides of the ship. And those bunkers lie directly behind the undamaged magazine. It's only the smallest clue, but it means that as the Lusitania sank, the coal bunkers on her starboard side must have been open to the sea. Friday, May 7th, 1915, shortly before 1 o'clock. After a morning of slow progress through heavy fog, the Lusitania rounds the southwest tip of Ireland. She is finally in sight of land.
I was 6 years old, and we were standing on the coast of Southern Ireland, off the old head of Kinsale, on a lovely sunny afternoon, enjoying the scenery, and we saw this liner coming round the corner. I'd never seen such a big liner as this in my life before, and we were fascinated watching it coming towards us virtually. Wonderful sight.
It was a fine day. Yes, it was a fine day, and that morning, Dad, when we come from breakfast, Dad said, look out there, and he said, what can you see? That was the Irish coast we was on.
About 15 miles away, U-boat 20 is running on the surface when a lookout spots 4 funnels on the horizon. Though he has no hope of catching this unidentified liner, Captain Schwieger gives the order to submerge. At almost the same moment on the bridge of the Lusitania, Captain Turner orders a turn to starboard toward Liverpool and puts his ship directly in the path of the onrushing submarine. Captain Schwieger cannot believe his luck. It is just after 2 o'clock. In the Lusitania's dining room, second lunch is being served. The Lusitania is 1,000 meters away from the U-boat and closing fast. At 700 meters, Captain Schwieger gives the order to fire 1 torpedo.
We were at lunch, and this girl who shared the cabin with me, she thought we should be starting to pack. So, of course, I left the table and went with her to the cabin, and we were just inside when there was this noise.
Oh, it was a terrific explosion. A terrific one. And it sounds as if it was right near too. And it frightened the life out of me.
The torpedo strikes the ship just behind the bridge. A spout of water, steam, and black dust erupts somewhere behind the forward crow's nest.
Oh, people pushing, shoving to get up as high as they could, getting near the back.
Almost immediately, the ship lists sharply to starboard. The lifeboats on that side swing away from the ship. On the port side, the lifeboats swing in. Lowering them becomes almost impossible.
The lifeboats went up and down, and they were out of order because they couldn't run. They were all crooked. So they had just to fill the boat and lowered it down by hand, and then when they got to the water, they cut the rope, and of course, the first 2 overturned, and the people were thrown in the water.
We come to an open space, got my hands in prayer, and I said, please God save us, please God save us.
In the mounting panic, nursemaid Alice Lines wraps 3-month-old Audrey into a shawl and ties it around her neck. Then she heads for the lifeboat with Audrey's older brother in tow.
I followed best I could to get into the lifeboat. And an officer came and grabbed me, and he said, you can't go in, that's full. And I said, I must. My boy is in there. I've just put my boy there. I must. I got myself free from him. And they were lowering the lifeboat. And I jumped.
Trying to escape the onrushing seas, other passengers climbed to the highest points on the ship.
I had my sister Florence with me. We got to the poop deck next to the funnels. And so we went down with a sink, and when she got to where we were, on the top, we just went into the ocean. My life belt slipped off. And I was holding on to Florence, but I couldn't hold on any longer. I had to let her go. That was very traumatic. That lasted, this hand, it was this hand, lasted till I was 19 or 20 years old. I could still, that's extraordinary. I still could feel the grip.
And very gradually, the bows went down, and as the bows went down, the stern came up, until the propellers were out of the water. She was quite clear of the water. And at an angle, I would think, of about 45 degrees, she said poised. And then, as if just on the slide, she slowly slid down, quite dramatically, below the waves. The sea was boiling, and the liner disappeared.
Feet below the surface, the great ship came to rest. Inside her were those who had never even made it to the decks. When the power failed and plunged the ship into darkness, they were trapped in the boiler rooms, the cargo holds, the second-class cabins, the first-class elevators. Door still stands open, a last desperate effort to escape as the ship went down. Off to one side, part of a woman's shoe. "300 feet above the liner, death is assuming a different form. Scattered in a great swath that runs for a mile, those who survive the sinking itself are beginning to die from exposure in the frigid sea."
When I came up, there was nothing in sight at all. The boat was disappeared, and all I could see was heads bobbing up and down, and chairs, tables, and things like that, and people calling out. And these two men were on a lifeboat upside down, two of them, and they dragged me on with them.
I know I was in the water and crying and being picked up. Just think there were only 7 lifeboats, but they grabbed me. And it was Mr. Hook that pulled me out.
Dad, he pulled her by the hair and got her into the boat. I didn't see the Lusitania go down, but I seen this row of people moaning, and it was like a half a circle of people moaning in the water. It was just a moan, a constant moan, and it gradually got less and less.
Still ahead, Ballard and his team close in on the answer to the second explosion. Were contraband ammunition and weapons the cause? Find out after this on TBS.
Wednesday. Stories have to be told. Deadlines must be met.
The public has a right to know a few things.
It's tough being a reporter.
You want to know the truth? You want to ask me as a person?
person. I'll tell you. You ask me as a reporter, I got no comment.
That's not fair.
Not fair to who? Wait a minute.
It's tough being the story. Paul Newman.
Where were you May 25th, 1980?
You got a warrant?
Sally Field. Absence of Malice. 8:05 Eastern, Wednesday night. Turn to TBS.
How can we get more power from the controlled explosions inside an engine? Have them occur more frequently. Stratus power plants with multi-valve design, overhead cams, and lightweight pistons allow more explosions per minute and thus more power. So even with the standard 2-liter engine at, say, 6,000 RPM, Stratus is more fun than the 4th of July. New Dodge Stratus. It's full of answers.
Get 1.9% financing or lease Dodge Stratus for $199 a month.
Right now, when you buy 2-liter bottles of Canada Dry Ginger Ale, you can win a Princess Cruise for 2 to Alaska. See participating retailers for other ways to enter. No purchase necessary.
On the next National Geographic Explorer, what lurks in the jungle? Spend the night in Africa. Join TBS for the last great adventure of the weekend. National Geographic Explorer, 9 Eastern next Sunday. Turn to TBS.
You're watching National Geographic Explorer.
Before you open new doors, Canon gave you the key to color copying. Before the competition closed in, Canon raised the standard. And just when you thought you reached the top, Canon takes you far beyond. With colors so vivid, so versatile, so fast, it will raise you to a new level of productivity. When the rest say you can't, Canon says you can. The most advanced color laser copiers from Canon. Now you can. Call 1-800-OK-CANON.
Dream of a time from yesterday and how it used to be. Dream of a place you've never been and have always longed to see. You can hide your dreams away or share them with someone. I know a place where dreams come true in the Arizona sun.
This is a coin-operated binocular, manufactured by the Tower Optical Company, Incorporated, of Norwalk, Connecticut. For 25 cents, it offers a spectacular but limited view of Arizona. This is an America West plane. For slightly more, it offers a spectacular view of Arizona that will last a lifetime. America West offers daily nonstops to Phoenix from 50 cities nationwide. For reservations, call your professional travel agent or America West.
And now back to the last voyage of the Lusitania.
Over a week has passed since Ballard started his investigation, and he's beginning to focus on an idea suggested by retired Captain Cyril Spur, a British munitions expert who's just joined his team. Spur has pointed out that if the torpedo had struck at any point behind the forward magazine, it would have hit a coal bunker. Since the ship was at the end of her crossing, the bunkers would have been almost empty, except for a thick layer of coal dust on the floor.
How many of those bunkers would have to be violated for the ship to sink the way it did?
The Lusitania was built so as to float with 2 compartments open to the sea, and with more compartments open, she could not stay afloat.
What is the explosive nature of coal dust? Is there a gas buildup in these things? Is there?
With a disruption, there could be a serious cloud of coal dust, which would be very explosive indeed.
We heard a sharp explosion initially, which would have been the torpedo, yes, and a rumbling.
That would match a dust explosion more accurately. You still have the classic ingredients for an explosion, provided that you've got a source of ignition. Must have a source of ignition.
So you have the torpedo coming in and hitting right about there. Somewhere in that neck of the woods, just below
the water line in the red. And you would have had an initial explosion, a sharp explosion, which everyone reported. And that would have blown out plating. And then that explosion, that fireball that it ignited, then ignited what I think was the coal dust. It shook the bunker, got the coal up in the air, the remaining dust, and then ignited that. And so now the sea is going to pour into that area. And the ship is going to immediately list to starboard, dumping coal on the floor of the ocean as it goes from the ruptured bunkers, and then crack on the bottom, and the forces of gravity would have slowly caused it to settle to where it's now sort of a sealed tomb.
Although we may never know the whole truth, it now seems likely that the sinking of the Lusitania was simply one of those strange quirks of fate that happen in war.
I don't think anyone expected one torpedo to sink it. I don't think the German skipper that fired it thought he was really going to sink it, and I don't think the captain thought once he'd been hit that he was going to sink. It was just bad luck.
Right, here we are. Let's put some lights on, otherwise I'm not going to see a thing.
The Cunard Archive in Liverpool.
Make your way down, and they're on the left-hand side, on the bottom.
Today, the Cunard Line records of the Lusitania disaster fill only a few shelves. In the haste to find answers and assign blame, the human stories have been largely forgotten. May 7th, 1915, evening. The first victims of the sinking arrive in the Irish port of Queenstown. By the following morning, the Lusitania has made headlines everywhere around the globe. In Liverpool and New York, anxious relatives and friends gather for word of their loved ones. The sea has been remarkably democratic in who it claimed.
We lost a little sister, 20 months old. I suppose she was drowned as soon as she entered the water, I expect. There wasn't much chance of a little girl like that, was it?
Gradually, the dimensions of the disaster become apparent. Of the 1,959 people aboard the ship, there are only 764 survivors. The Cunard Line offers a cash reward for the bodies that have started to float ashore as far away as Wales. Only 289 are recovered. Of these, 65 are never identified.
There were just rows and rows of people who had been taken out of the sea who were dead. I went over quite a number, and then I saw my father's body. And that was that. I didn't do any more after that.
When we arrived in Queenstown, and they told me I cried for my mother all night, wondered where she was, and she was a little girl. Naturally would want to know where her mother was. So they said, oh, she's probably perhaps in another hotel, etc. So But she was never found, like 1,000 other people.
Sir, the following message is copying ink pen on brown paper enclosed in a bottle. Was picked up near Waterford on the 18th and delivered to me today. Quote, no other papers to be got. Going down with Lusitania. Torpedoed off Old Head Kinsale. M. McManus. Goodbye.
Next, some final thoughts on the tragic sinking of the Lusitania. After this, on TBS.
Colgate Baking Soda Toothpaste invites you to test your knowledge of the world with National Geographic Atlas. In which of these countries could you explore the Kalahari Desert and the Okavango Delta? Kenya, Zaire, Botswana? Stay tuned for the answer right after this.
This is a deep clean. Something most teeth have never felt. Something you can feel now. Introducing Colgate Baking Soda and Peroxide with Tartar Control. Feel the deep clean of baking soda, peroxide, and tartar control tingling deep in tiny crevices, between teeth, and along the gum line. You and your dentist will agree. It's a deep clean that's truly monumental. New Colgate Baking Soda and Peroxide. Feel the Colgate Deep Clean.
And now the Atlas answer. Botswana. This landlocked country in southern Africa boasts the vast Kalahari Desert and the inland delta of the Okavango River. This great river fans out across a broad marshland before being swallowed by the sands of the Kalahari, whose name means the land of thirst.
Look inside today's PCs. You'll find something pretty amazing. The Intel Pentium processor. It gives PC software more life, more action, more energy. So if you want your PC software to really move, make sure your PC has the Intel Pentium processor.
There are a lot of reasons why we created Ford Windstar with over 40 standard safety features, including standard dual airbags and standard anti-lock brakes. Many reasons for giving Windstar secure handling and making it longer for a smoother ride. We could acquaint you with some of these reasons, but why wake them up? Ford Windstar, created for the most important people in the world.
My mom, she's a maker. She makes milk cartons for kids who don't have cows close by. Well, she probably makes thousands of them because it's a lot of kids in the world. The cartons keep the milk fresh, and I like it when it's fresh, not spoiled. Well, spoiled milk tastes nasty. Fresh milk just tastes good. Woo!
People love good food, flavored with garlic, onions, and spices. But it happens, bad breath. I can eat what I want because of Breath Assure, the internal breath freshener. Gargle, sprays, and gums, nah, MIDI cover-ups. All natural Breath Assure is long-lasting. Swallow a few of these powerful capsules that work from the inside. Be sure. Breath Assure.
To order Breath Assure for $19.95, call 800-257-1234. Call now. That's 800-257-1234.
On the next National Geographic Explorer, what lurks in the jungle? Spend the night in Africa. Join TBS for the last great adventure of the weekend. National Geographic Explorer, 9 Eastern next Sunday. Turn to TBS.
And now back to the last voyage of the Lusitania.
In the weeks to come, Great Britain will deny that the Lusitania was carrying arms and set up an official inquiry, which will promptly blame Germany for the disaster. Winston Churchill would talk of resigning, but end up leading his nation to victory in another war against Germany 30 years later. The German people will welcome the crew of U-Boat 20 like heroes when they return home. And in the United States, there will be an immediate outcry for a declaration of war against Germany. But nearly 2 years will pass before that happens.
When you have a disaster like this where so many truly innocent people, I mean, they were innocent, children, women, people from neutral countries, had absolutely nothing to do with the war, died. You always want to say, well, who's to blame? Who do we pin this on? And from what I can see, everyone was to blame. It was not a good performance on the part of the human race.
No, I don't think about nothing more about it. It's one of those things, and we can't do nothing about it, can we? It was a bad day for we, but I think we was very fortunate in saving 4 lives out of 5.
And we didn't talk about it. Even with Dad, we didn't talk to Dad about it. Did you talk to Dad about it?
No.
No?
Wish I had, pal.
Yes, so do I.
Oh, yes, this is my baby.
That's right.
79 years have passed since Alice Lyons wrapped 3-month-old baby Audrey in her shawl and jumped for a lifeboat.
She's a very dear, close friend, and he means a great deal to me because she saved my life.
You did cry a lot. That's no doubt about it. You were a crybaby.
Crybaby, yes. You did tell me that, I must
Yes.
say.
But as a 6-year-old boy, it was something that would stick in my mind, as it has done, for the rest of my life. And although time fades and the little gray cells get worn out, I can still sit here now and see that liner just sliding beneath the waves.
Oh, I think that it still could have a lot of war materials aboard that are undocumented. I think it becomes more and more a footnote, though, as we show that it wasn't the explosion of those war materials that put her to the bottom. I'm content with what we found out, and now it's time to move on to another piece of history.
National Geographic Explorer will be right back.
1915, a war rages in Europe as the ocean liner Lusitania leaves New York with nearly 2,000 people aboard. 6 days later, a German torpedo sinks the ship, igniting a controversy that still burns today. Now, the last voyage of the Lusitania is available on home video from National Geographic. Join famed ocean explorer Dr. Robert Ballard as he dives to the ship's underwater grave. Hear stories from survivors.
Got me hands in prayer, and I said, please God save us, please God save us.
See exclusive footage from the making of this landmark documentary. Now, own a piece of history. National Geographic's Last Voyage of the Lusitania. Here's how to order.
Use your credit card to order. Call 1-800-514-2299 or send $19.95 plus $4.25 shipping and handling to National Geographic Video, Box 96575, Department L1, Washington, D.C.
These days,
days, anyone can design and build a car with the quality and features you want. And the safety you need. That's easy. We designed and built the all-new 1995 Lumina. So most people can afford it. And that's what makes the new Lumina a genuine Chevrolet.
How do you know? Who do you trust? What do they really say? Only one long-distance company gives you written proof that your business saves over AT&T. There's no question about savings with MCI's Proof Positive.
If you got a beard, we've got your number. Introducing the adjustable Maverick beard and mustache trimmer with 6 different settings. Man, does this do a number on beards. Maverick from Norelco.
Join TBS for an incredible look at America's lifelong obsession with the automobile. Driving Passion, a special encore presentation, 10:35 Eastern Monday, exclusively on TBS.
Next on TBS, journey to a world of wonder full of mystery and enchantment. It's a trip into the heart of Africa for one unforgettable adventure. Network Earth is coming up next right here on TBS.
You're watching National Geographic Explorer.
This year, more fathers and sons will spend Saturday mornings together. More couples will celebrate golden wedding anniversaries, and more friends will get to know each other a little better. State Farm is pleased to announce that last year, almost 2,000 fewer people were victims of drunk drivers because programs like Designated Driver are working. But we still have a long way to go. Please, be a good neighbor. Be a designated driver.
From Gillette comes a uniquely different form of protection for men. Gillette Clear Gel Antiperspirant. Unlike a stick that can stay in your underarm hair, this is a soft gel. It goes cleanly through the hair right down to the skin surface to fight odor and wetness where it begins. And that means powerful all-day protection. The revolutionary Gillette Clear Gel Antiperspirant.
Like all Americans, I like big things. Big prairies. Big forests and mountains. Big wheat fields. And everything else.
That's our show for this week. But before we let you rest up for our next great adventure, here's a look at some of those stories we're working on for next time.
In the West African country of Cameroon, we'll follow a band of poachers deep into the forest and witness a shockingly brutal hunt. Their prey, great apes. This disturbing report reveals gruesome activity that is tearing at the very heart of African life and could leave a whole generation of our magnificent animal relations orphaned. Then we'll travel south to Zambia, where, armed with ultra-sensitive photographic equipment, we'll sneak through a nocturnal feeding frenzy to find out who's the real king of the forest. These stories and more next week on National Geographic Explorer.
Looks like another show not to be missed. And thanks for watching this week. For the National Geographic Society, I'm Boyd Matson. See you next time.
Remember, you can watch National Geographic Explorer every week, Sunday nights at 9 Eastern, Monday nights at 10:05 Pacific and 1:05 Eastern, and Saturday mornings at 10:05 Eastern.
Coming up next, join TBS for a very special Network Earth in Africa. Peggy Knapp hosts an exploration of the myths and tales which exist in this dark continent. Uncover the mysteries of Africa's nature, wildlife, and people with Network Earth, next on TBS.